What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Drew Elia and I love all things e-skate and PEV related. Today on the channel, we're going to be doing something that is a little bit different. In today's video, I'm going to go over the most common questions that people ask me that are new to the sport. This will cover everything from deck selection to motor selection to battery even, wheels, trucks, just touching on everything in the lay of the land. Now this video isn't going to be necessarily recommending one board over the other, but just giving you general information of what you should be looking at when you are looking for your force board. Now everyone doesn't necessarily need the longest range or the most powerful board. Sometimes you just need that board to get you from A to B. Here are the topics we're going to be covering, and you can see them down below in the chapters. First topic is deck selection. Not only the deck selection, but the choice between a longboard, a shortboard, mountain board, bamboo, carbon fiber. There are a lot of options when it's coming to looking at your board, and here are just kind of the basic overall of what each deck has to offer. Shortboards are an amazing step into the micromobility or PEV personal electrical vehicle world. They offer great options for someone who's looking to get into it, that grew up on skateboards, that want to get their hands into e-skate. These boards don't offer the most powerful or the longest range when it comes to the e-skate world, but they make incredible last mile or short range commuter options. They're typically more affordable than the longboard styles and can also offer some unique features such as removable batteries that can easily go into a skateboard backpack. Shortboards can also come in different material styles. Ones like a typical or Canadian maple wood. Nowadays, shortboards have even gotten carbon fiber options, giving them extra stiffness and even stability at higher speeds. These boards typically are anywhere from the 8-mile to 15-mile range on a single charge and can reach speeds of 28 miles per hour. It's a fantastic place to start when you're looking to get into the e-skate world, especially if you're coming from like a regular skateboard background. Longboard style. This is where most e-skates reside in. These longboards are more your typical push style longboard skateboards. They're an awesome choice for a beginner of the sport to their stability and cruiser style. Longboard skateboards offer more power and range typically when it comes to these class. Price of entry can be as low as anywhere from $399 or as expensive as $1,000. These style boards offer a serious amount of options from the industry. Typically, they're compiled of a wooden deck. Some have more structure and flexibility depending on fiberglass or bamboo style. Others are super stiff and have no flex due to their battery options. This can also offer options for different motors such as hub, belt drive, gear drive, and which we'll get into later in the episode. 2-in-1 style boards. This is where you take the longboard skateboard and kick it up a notch. The 2-in-1 refers to the ability to swap out your traditional style urethane street wheels for larger all-terrain or pneumatic wheels. There are a ton of different options when it comes to these. There are a ton of different wheel options and choices when you get into this class. This section also typically has the most expensive when it comes to the e-skate world, ranging from around $1,000 and upwards to even $5,000. These boards typically offer the most range, most power when it comes to e-skate, and they also offer different styles of decks, such as carbon fiber, bamboo, or sometimes even a combination of both. So when it comes to choosing a deck for you, what really I tell people is if you can find a local e-skate group ride or something along those lines that way and be able to get on one of these boards and feel the style of boards, or if you are someone that's looking and you have those options to be like, hey, I know I don't necessarily need, this much range or this much power, and you can kind of start seeing the specs of what people lay out in that sense and get those options for that for you. So not everyone needs to go ahead and pick up a mountain board to do a 5-mile commute to work every single day. Sometimes a shortboard might be your better option. But on the other hand, some people who want to have a little bit of everything, you have that option in the e-skate world. There's shortboard, longboard, 2-in-1s, mountain boards. There's a whole series of deck styles and choices that are out there. And I recommend, if you have the options to get on one of them, meet up with a local group meetup and definitely check them out. They are absolutely one of the best options that you can get for micromobility this day and age. Second topic, drivetrain. Drivetrain has multiple different options here, from hub drive, belt drive, gear drive, direct drive. There is a series of different abilities for you and different levels of options as far as pricing goes as well that offer a different class of motor options. So let's start off with the hub drive. Starting with the hub wheel. This motor style has the motor inside of the wheel. Some companies have even created an option where the sleeve can be pulled off and be swapped out if it's broken or worn down, which is great. Or even allowing you to upgrade to larger style hub wheels, giving you more options in this class as well too. Typically these style motors are reserved for the entry-level category but can be used across all levels of e-skate. I do personally love the feel of the hub motor because it's the closest to how a regular skateboard feels when you're coming over to the e-skate world. When I first got into e-skate, the hub motor is one of the ones that I jumped into. It's definitely one that I recommend to people when they are looking to get into the sport and they're not looking to break the bank and they want to be able to jump on. The cheaper of the options in this world, the entry-level price boards, are primarily focused on the hub drive system. Now again, different hub drives allow you to have different options. Some of them are fixed, or meaning that you can't replace the wheel inside of there. Some of them have sleeve options, which basically means you take off a set of screws, pull off the whole entire sleeve, the motor's still there, put on a new urethane wheel, or upgrade it to even like a Cloud-esque wheel style or an all-terrain style wheel. So there's a ton of different options when it does come to the hub style wheel. They're typically not the most comfortable, but they are the quietest and most sleekest way when it does come to this entry level. So if you are someone that doesn't necessarily want to have something that screams, I'm riding an e-skateboard, this is definitely an option for you. Or if you're in an area that's not legally allowed to have an e-skate, this is also another better option because it does look like your typical longboard and you can obviously kick push it way easier than you would for any of the other options out there as well too. So if you are coming from a regular longboard skateboard background and you are looking to get into the e-skate world and not break the bank, a hub drive is typically something I recommend in that gen. The next option is belt drive motor. This is mostly used in the e-skate world for boards allowing different customization options. The motor is mounted on the rear truck that is spinning a belt that is attached to a pulley. That pulley is then attached to the wheel and spins the wheel. This style allows you to swap out wheels, changing gearing ratios, giving you either more low-end torque or more top-end speed. And of course, they range in different size power levels. When it comes to the belt drive, this starts getting into a little bit of a more expensive class. So you start finding yourself in the $700 to $800 to $900 price range. I would say that these aren't necessarily your entry-level boards, but you start getting into these more mid-range board styles. So things that allow you to get more range, way more power, more top-end speed. And the belt drive system is nice in that sense because you can keep all of the wheels a street-style urethane wheel, or you can keep them into like more of a larger diameter wheel. So it gives you options to be able to jump into this e-skate world and really kind of get more of a feel of what your old e-skate used to be with a lot more power. Now this does require a little bit more maintenance because if your belt does break, you do have to have an option to swap out the belt. The other good thing about belt drive system is that you can play with different gearing options. And not to get too complicated here, but different gearing options allows you to basically swap out and give you different feels of the board. So with the same board, same motors, swapping out different teeth pulleys, you're able to get either low-end torque speed or you can go for higher-end torque speed. So someone that says necessarily wants to jump off the line and be the fastest off the line, you can go with a different style teeth pulley, or someone that says, you know what, my mid-range to high-range power, I want more top end, you can go with a different gearing pulley system. So a lot of fun things that can happen in this class. There's a lot of great boards in this class too, and again, they all different range from price. So your entry levels could be closer to like the $600 price range. This can go all the way up to your crazy high-end 2-in-1 boards for like multiple, like thousands and thousands of dollars as well too. But it is typically your most common used drivetrain system in the e-skate world this day and age for its flexibility. The third option is gear drive. This style has been around for some time, but is becoming way more popular nowadays. The gear drive is a closed gear drive system that allows you to have mostly pretty maintenance-free experience from a part to having to grease up the gears every so many miles. And by every so many miles, some companies even recommend 1,000 to 1,300 to 1,500 miles to add some grease into the gearing system. And you don't really have to do much more than that. There are limiting factors when it comes to the gear drive system that makes you either use a certain style pulley that you can only use certain style wheels with them. There are a few exceptions, but overall I would classify this style for someone who is more of an off-roading based user. Gear drive system is becoming way more popular nowadays in these different setups, and it does offer street options. Certain companies are starting to come out with street urethane wheel gear drives, but for the most part, a lot of the gear drive train systems are reserved for the off-roading system. It just gives you a kind of a maintenance worry-free, especially if you're riding through the woods or the muds or whatever it may be, where you don't have to worry about tree branches, pine cones, any dirt, debris, dust getting inside the gear train system. So when you are riding, it's not necessarily as worried about ripping off a belt if you're going around a tree, or if you're going over a tree stump or something like that, getting caught on the belt system there and snapping a belt while you're in the middle of the woods. This gives you a little bit more options. Now there are companies that do come out that are starting to more focus on the street urethane style with the gear drive, which is awesome. I think that's great because it does give you that option of being able to have that maintenance-free worry and be able to differently gear it out for your needs. But it does have a little bit of a limiting factor. A lot of these gear drive train systems are kind of specific to each company's product. So when you buy a gear drive system, you really kind of have to stick with their product or their options as far as wheel options, or using their product to purchase to put on your wheels. So gear drive, as great as it is definitely something that's getting more and more popular nowadays. It's just something that's a little bit more still on the niche end of it. So the fourth option, which is also pretty much the rarer of any option, is the direct drive. Not as popular as the other companies, but it's still an option. This is kind of like a hub drive system that allows you to have your own style wheels. Companies like Revel even give you the options of mounting this on any skateboard you want to turn into an e-skate. The motors are exposed to the ground elements, so it gives them more opportunity to being damaged, but you do have the direct power, so no having to worry about belts, not having to worry about hub sleeves or damaging your wheels and having to like replace entire motors. It's kind of the best of both worlds, but it's reserved more for, I would say, people that are using it on the street only, and for people that typically want to have a urethane style wheel and not necessarily have to worry about a belt. So you get some power, you get the urethane style wheel, no belt drive, and you have the options to swap out different. So it's kind of like a balance of best of both worlds, and there are some cool companies like Revel that do offer that option to be able to slap this onto any board that's out there. But you know, for this type of e-skate world, it's kind of becoming fewer and fewer people using direct drive systems. Batteries. Now, batteries is a whole other topic that I can even dive into a straight up long video on that one too. And there are people that are way more knowledgeable about battery system than I am. So I will just give you the general like range anxiety or range difference of certain batteries. When you are looking at any of the company claims that they come out with, so if you see a board that says gets 10 to 15 miles, range has a multitude of factors. There is a series of factors that from everything from weather outside, the temperature, your wind speed, the road you're driving on, the hill climbing ability, your weight as a rider. All of these things have massive effect on how the battery performs. So whenever something comes out and says, I have 25 miles of range, I always take that with a grain of salt. For me, especially depending on how fast you're riding, there's, like I said, all those other factors. You just want to go ahead and, you know, measure it out there. There are some great websites that allow you to, and I'll link them down below. Put in all of your specifications, so as far as your weight, the battery size, and everything like that, and it gives you a much more accurate range. And I would say that those are pretty accurate when it does come to those measurements. But as far as it comes to batteries, they have a massive amount of information to them. And like I said, there's people that are way more qualified than I am to be able to really dive into the specifications of it all. But as far as you need to know when it comes to battery size and the range that people put up there, just kind of understand that it's a claim that someone made on a very flat road with a pretty light rider with practically perfect conditions. So it is something to take with a grain of salt. There are companies out there that make outrageous claims, and sometimes they are true, but you just have to make sure that when you are looking to pick up a board, that when you see something that says, hey, I get 25 miles of range, all of that could be completely different when it comes to you as a rider. Let's touch briefly on different style wheels. Let's just break it down into the most broadest category. Let's call it street urethane wheel and all-terrain or pneumatic wheel. Street urethane wheels are your typical skateboard, longboard wheels that you've grown up with when you're riding on regular skateboards, and it gives you a multitude of different options in durometers and feeling. For me, I think that when you're riding street wheels, it's definitely smoother like paved roads. You're looking for something that's gonna give you the most range possible and the more realistic feel when it comes to riding an older longboard. Then street wheels is your option. There are hundreds of different style wheels out there, and I recommend that when you do pick up a board, start trying them out. I mean, there's definitely different wheel options, and I always do like a Wheel Wednesday, so if you're looking for that, you can see that list up here. And that basically gives you the options of like checking out and feeling different style wheels. And there are tons of different options when it comes to that. From your larger 120 cloud wheels, to your mad wheels, to your boa wheels, loaded orangutan wheels, there are, and every single person has their preference when it comes to those style wheels. So what I would say is start trying them out. If you're going to group rides or if you're meeting up with people and they have different style wheels on them, just ask them to try their board out and you'll get a totally different feel than what you probably ride on your board. On the other spectrum of that, when it comes to these larger 2-in-1 boards, you start getting into AT tires, all-terrain tires, or pneumatic style wheels. These are basically wheels that have tubes inside of them that are inflated. Some of them are even tubeless nowadays, but this gives you the option of feeling way more ground clearance, and this is a way grippier option. So for someone that is going off-roading or someone wants the ground clearance or the comfortability, AT tires are definitely the option to go with. There are tons of different companies out there, again, making tons of different style AT wheels, and the best options of those are just what you need to find out for yourself. Last but not least, let's talk about trucks. There are several different truck options that have come out in today's day and age. And some people love, some people hate. There's a totally different affiliation with them. And a lot of them have to do with you as your rider and what you want to be doing as far as on your board. Let's start off with double kingpin. Double kingpin refers to two kingpins stacked above each other, and this gives you what I would say, the most carviest option out there. There are some exceptions to it, but it gives you the most deepest carve because it does have two different pivot points, allowing you to really dig in your heels and toes and give you a more snowboarding, surfing style feel. So if you are coming from one of those backgrounds and you are looking to get into the e-skate world, double kingpin does give you a great option as far as that goes. And you'll find these mostly on your 2-in-1 style boards nowadays. And I love them. I mean, for me, again, I do come from a skateboard, surfing, snowboarding background. So when I do jump on these boards, double kingpin for me is great. Some people argue that double kingpin is a little too wobbly at higher speeds, but with practice and your board, you'll be able to definitely hit up higher speeds and feel more comfortable. There's a multitude of different factors when it comes to trucks as well too. Everything from the tightness of your kingpins, your options of your bushings, the durometer of your bushings, the shape of the bushings. There's a whole series of stuff that we can get into a little bit further, explaining the different options as far as that goes, but that's for maybe a different time. So when it comes to double kingpin, just know that if you are looking at double kingpin, that they are the carvier options out there, and they do offer, I would say, a more fluid-like feel when it comes to these e-skates. Traditional style. This is your traditional style kingpin, is a single kingpin in a traditional style setup. Traditional style setup gives you, I would say, a really good, comfortable, stable feel. It's probably one of the more stable feels that are out there, and it gives you the most really realistic feel to what your old skateboard felt like. Third option is reverse kingpin. Reverse kingpin is just like a traditional kingpin, but flipped around. And this is basically giving you, with certain companies, the most stability at speeds and great carving options as well too. Some people argue that traditional and reverse kind of feel the same. I kind of disagree. I feel like there is a difference between the two of them, but that's something that when you hop on these boards, you're gonna be able to notice and start feeling when you start riding different style boards out there. Well guys, I know this was kind of a really broad general overview with a few different options inside there, but I hope that this gives you a more of a lay of the land when it comes to e-skate style boards and different breakdowns of each category. Obviously, there's stuff that you can dive into even further and get into deeper depth with here, but that's what the comment section is for. So if you have any questions or if you have any comments, go ahead and just drop them down below. While you're down there, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and say what's up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe if you found any information of this value of you. And as always, guys, make sure you wear a helmet. Until next time, peace.